Good morning, and I will take the podium in a minute, but the podium seems quite far set back from all of you, and one of the themes of my service has been to try to narrow the gap between the people who hold elected office and those whom we serve. As Mark said, my name is Andrew Roraback. I live up in Goshen with my wife Kara and our 3-year-old son, Andrew Kevin. I was born in Torrington, brought up in Litchfield. I went to Yale College and the University of Virginia School of Law. After law school, I returned home to join my father, brother, and sister in a family practice of law that was started by my great-grandfather in 1883. By the way, this is Rebecca, who's with my opponent's campaign. She is videotaping everything I say this morning in the hopes that I say something untoward that can be converted into a TV commercial that would be run against me. So it's not my style to say things that are untoward, and I will refrain from the dramatic this morning, lest it be used against me. So after going home to join my family in our family business, I was elected in 1994 to the Connecticut House of Representatives, where I served for 6 years representing the people of the 64th District, which is 5 communities in Litchfield County. In the year 2000, I was elected to the Connecticut State Senate, and for the past 12 years, I've represented the people of 15 communities in Litchfield County in the Connecticut State Senate. It is a job that I love. I am giving up a job that I love in pursuit of a job which I think I will like even more. I have a passion for public service. I have a passion for getting to know the communities that I represent. And now I am embarked on the project of a lifetime. I was brought up in a family where boasting was actively discouraged. My parents did not think it was becoming for any of their 4 children to brag about themselves. But I'm running for Congress. My handlers have said, forget about what your parents may have told you. If you're running for Congress, there's some things about you that people should know. And if there's one thing that I hope you'll remember when you leave here today, it's that in the 18 years that I've had the privilege of serving, I've never missed a single vote in Hartford. I've been present for 8,929 consecutive roll call votes. And that's a record that no other legislator has, and it's a record that I'm proud of. Of course, the downfall of that record is that there's nobody on the planet who agrees with all of the votes that I've cast over 18 years. So my wife certainly doesn't agree with all the votes I've cast. My mother doesn't agree with all the votes. But they say they love me anyway. So for the past, right now I'm a state senator till January, and right now I serve as the Senate Republican leader on both the Environment Committee and on the Finance, Revenue, and Bonding Committee. My work on the Finance Committee has put me in a position where I've been called upon to question the wisdom of the governor's approach to solving Connecticut's economic woes. And respectfully, my view is that we went down the wrong path as a state in choosing to impose the largest tax increase in our state's history, believing that that would bring us to economic prosperity. UConn released a study last week which demonstrated that while other states' economies are beginning to feel the effects of a recovery, Connecticut's economy is still shrinking. And it's shrinking, in my view, because business people who hire individuals who create middle-class jobs are apprehensive about the direction the state is heading. And people have said to me, what have you learned in Hartford that you would bring to Washington, D.C.? And my response is, what I've learned is how not to solve a problem. Because I think that an over-reliance on tax increases and under-reliance on trimming the size and cost of government is not the recipe for creating the job opportunities we so desperately need in this state. So I'll give you a couple of, and I apologize to Holly and Tim and Mark for having my back to you. That's not very polite. And I do want to give you a flavor of what this race is about. In the Republican primary, I was the last individual to get into this race. I got into this race on October 20th. And there were 8 other people in the race when I got into the race. When I got into the race, I got into it because I looked at Washington, D.C. and believed that the service that I've been able to give and the manner in which I've been able to serve over the past 18 years would be a constructive addition to the incredibly dysfunctional partisan gridlock in Washington, D.C. So there was a 4-way Republican primary on August 14th, and 3 days before that primary, my campaign manager tapped me on the shoulder and said, Andrew, a super PAC has just spent $200,000 on TV ads that they're going to run over the next 3 days. And I'm like, oh, that's not good news. What's the name of the super PAC? And they said, it's called the Patriot Majority PAC. I said, oh no, I'm going to be attacked from the right. Then we did some digging, and we found out there's actually not a right-wing super PAC, it was a left-wing super PAC. And they ran ads from Washington, D.C., a left-wing Democratic super PAC, ran ads constantly for the 3 days before the primary, trying to convince Republican primary voters not to vote for me. Now you might ask, why is it that a Democratic super PAC would run ads trying to convince Republicans not to vote for me? And the ads from the Democratic super PAC said that I was not a friend of the taxpayer, that I was someone who leaned to the left, and no self-respecting Republican would want me as their candidate. They did that because they knew that if I won the primary, I would be a strong candidate in November. And they wanted to keep me off the ballot in November. This same super PAC did the same thing in Missouri, and they succeeded there. Because in Missouri, they were able to convince Republican primary voters not to support the moderate candidate, but to support Todd Akin. So they got what they wanted in Missouri, but they didn't get what they wanted in Connecticut. And then the day after the primary, the Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee, which is now spending $800,000 misrepresenting my record, started with ads saying that I was someone who was not, they didn't say I was too far to the left, they said I was too far on the other side. And the truth of the matter is, I'm on neither extreme. I am a fiscally conservative, socially moderate Connecticut Republican. And I don't run from my political stripe. People that believe that my party has gone too far to an extreme, to them I say I think I'm the answer to that phenomenon. Because I will pull my party back to the center where I think the truth usually lies. So a couple of things that I want you to think about as you make up your mind over the next 24 days, who's counting. First of all, in the year 2011, federal tax revenues were 14% of our gross domestic product. So all tax receipts that we receive as a nation equaled 14% of our gross domestic product. Federal expenditures were 25% of our gross domestic product. That 11% delta translated into the $1.6 trillion deficit that we experienced in 2011. If we remain on the path that we're on, by the year 2020, 92 cents of every federal tax dollar collected will be committed to Medicare, Social Security, Medicaid, and interest on the national debt, leaving 8 pennies to pay for our national defense, our highways, our airports, all of the other obligations of the federal government. So the reality is, we don't have time to delay making responsible decisions to chart a course to a more prosperous future. Now, I'm a Republican, make no mistake about it, but I'm an American before I'm a Republican. And all of my service in Hartford, I've been in the minority for 18 years in the General Assembly. and I've been able to accomplish a fair amount for my district. How have I been able to get things done? By reaching across the aisle and finding common ground with people whose philosophies are different than my own. What I think is conspicuous by its absence in the national debate is the voice of the Connecticut Republicans. 6 years ago, we had 3 members of Congress from Connecticut who were Republicans. Today, this state has one-party rule, and I think checks and balances are a healthy thing in any political system. For this state not to have any voice offering a contrary perspective is unhealthy, because I think absolute power visited in any group can be an unhealthy thing for our democracy. So I don't know how much time I've gone on, but I also would be remiss not to tell you how very well served you are by Representative Tim Leggett. One of the real pleasures of serving in Hartford is getting to know individuals. When you spend 36 hours without sleep together, you get to know a side of people. You get to know people pretty darn well. And let me just tell you what you already know, that you have a state representative who is as highly regarded, as highly respected, and as hardworking as any legislator in the building. When Tim Leggett rises to his feet, people listen because they know that he's going to speak from the heart, he's going to speak the truth, and he's going to represent the interests of this community. And you know how much he does here at home. I want to tell you that on the other side of the mountain, he works just as hard and makes just as big a difference as he does here. So Tim, thank you for your service. And I'm going to miss, I love, it's been fun being a state senator. I got a little emotional on my last day. My last day, first the state senate said goodbye to Edith Craig. And for those of you that know Edith, I think she's 86 years old. She's been serving for a long time. I don't think Edith, I told you, 8,929 consecutive votes. I'm not sure Edith and I ever voted the same way. But I love her to pieces. And when she got up to say goodbye, the members of the circle, the 36 of us, all 35 who were not Edith, rose to their feet and said something very kind about her, because she is a monument. She's an unbelievable woman. And then it was time for the chamber to say goodbye to me. And all 35 of my colleagues rose to their feet. And they ribbed me a little bit, but for the most part, it was a message of goodwill. And I hope to bring a message of goodwill to Washington, D.C. It doesn't mean that I'm not serious about my convictions, that I won't remain true to my principles. But it does mean that I'm going to build relationships. Speaker Boehner was here at the Hartford Club on Tuesday in support of my candidacy. This race has a lot of national attention. It's one of 2 open seats in all of New England. And at our meeting, there are representatives of United Technologies, the Travelers, the Aetna, the Hartford, and they asked the speaker to work with me to try to make their businesses more prosperous, to try to help their businesses grow here in Connecticut. We have 9% unemployment in the state today, above the national rate of 7.8%. That's got to change if this state is going to get itself out of the pickle that we're in. So I don't want to go on too long. The greatest gift for any candidate is the gift of your attention and your interest. And I know it's Friday, everyone's got a busy day, so
we have time for questions.
We have time for a few questions. I'd be very happy to try to answer questions. And you can visit the website, www.rorabackforcongress.com. For the people that I've served for 18 years, my campaign pitch, I'll say one last thing, and then I'll take your questions. This primary was rough. I was outspent better than 3-1. I endured a lot of attacks, this is politics, I'm a big boy. I can handle attacks that are unkind. What I can't handle are attacks that are untrue. And the ads that have been running on TV are outrageous. To suggest that I would ever tinker with the Social Security or Medicare benefits of the people I serve is outrageous and untrue.